He's still going. Hakeem Jeffries on the house floor. Well, he's got to be wearing Depends. I mean, there's no way. He's going on like 4.5 hours. There's just not a chance that he has not borrowed a pair of Joe Biden's adult diapers for this speech. It's crazy. And you got Democrats behind him totally falling asleep as he tries to just delay the vote of the big, beautiful bill, the final vote of the big, beautiful bill. That's what's going on right now. So yesterday, had the opportunity, Keatsman and I went up to the Northland, and we got to meet with some people who are involved in trying to bring the Royals up to North Kansas City. And, you know, I was there recently. We were there for the North KC Back the Blue tour last Friday. But I was there for a similar meeting with different people about 2 years ago. Remember, all the North KC stuff really started picking up. It was summer of 23. Went up there, met with some people. It was rah-rah, Northtown, the whole deal. And they were feeling good about their chances. And then, of course, out of left field, no pun intended, the Royals announced they're going to go to the Crossroads, and we know how that played out. But now, North Kansas City is back in the mix, and they feel good about their potential in getting the Royals up to the Northland. They think that their site is the most appealing one. They believe that they've got the tax base up there to pass a sales tax. They believe that polling suggests they can pass a sales tax in Clay County to bring the team up to the Northland. And they think location-wise, they got the best spot. And the more I thought about it, and we've talked about this plenty, of all the available options, they're not wrong about that.
Yeah, they were really nice. They invited me to the suite that summer, a couple of summers ago.
That's right.
And I talked to the guys, and, you know, everything seemed pretty nice up there.
But that was, what was that? What did they gave you some T-shirt. What was that T-shirt they gave you?
I think it was just Royals to the Northland.
Yeah, that was the name of the group that you met with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark got the invite to that. No one invited me, but they wanted Mark there. So, you know, I'm sure that there's some synergy between all these people up in the Northland. But when you think about the final sites that are being talked about here, you've got the Sprint campus, Asperia campus in Overland Park. You've got the Legends, which really hasn't gotten a lot of attention for the Royals, more so the Chiefs, but it's still out there lingering. You have Washington Square Park right next to Union Station, and then you have North Kansas City. North Kansas City, of those four options, continues to be the best one available. Now, the better options might have been the Crossroads, tying Power and Light to that area of Kansas City. That would have made sense, and we talked about it last year, but the Royals, frankly, butchered the entire thing. Got slapped together last minute. Everybody was blindsided. They had to figure out how to actually scoop up the property in the area. They're literally negotiating with business owners while people are going to the polls. It was the most insane thing you could ever do. They just didn't plan for it properly, and it was rushed, and that's on them. But that would have made sense to connect parts of downtown. The East Village, frankly, still is not a bad option, but it appears to be completely off the table because the Cordish Group that owns Power and Light does not want a competing entertainment district because Power and Light loses money right now. I mean, the city subsidizes Power and Light about, $15 million a year, I think it is. So the money's just not there. Power and Light would do even worse if there was a competing entertainment district in the East Village. So those appear to be off the table. Washington Square Park, ingress, egress, I can't even wrap my head around how ugly that would be. And then you also have 16 acres, give or take. It's not a lot of land. And the whole point of moving, the whole premise of this entire move for the Royals is predicated on the idea of we need to have other revenue streams to keep our payroll competitive in a sport that doesn't have a salary cap. That's the whole premise, right? It's the Atlanta Braves model. You have the Battery, you have these hotels, you have restaurants, you have bars, you have all this stuff that brings in money, condos, and that helps you fund your baseball team. And, of course, it's good business, too. The Northland site is 100 acres. How much of that they want to use remains to be seen. But that's the size and scope of that project potentially in North Kansas City. And you have the density that you don't get out in the Legends. You don't have the problems of ingress, egress that you would get for Washington Square Park or the Aspiria campus. And I'll tell you, these people up there in the Northland, they feel good about where they're at in this conversation and where they're at when it comes to potentially landing a major league franchise. I mean, there's only 30 of these things out there. And it does help the region as a whole, where suddenly you're spreading some of that tax base around. It's not all on Jackson County, which, we've said for a long time has probably not been fair to the Jackson County resident. Now, of course, those of us who just do any shopping or go out in Jackson County, we're paying for it too. But still, the burden of it is felt by Jackson County residents. Now, the one thing I was asking these folks is, how do you feel about a vote passing in Clay County? And we've talked about how 2 years ago there was a thought that it had to be a full penny sales tax. And that was too much. That was obscene. But now with the deal that the state of Missouri passed here in the special session, the belief is that Clay County and Clay County residents would be asked to contribute a half-cent sales tax, or anybody who shops or does business in Clay County. It would be an additional half-cent sales tax, not a renewal, not a redirect, but an additional sales tax. And I said to this group, I'm like, how's this look? How's this going to play out? And, we looked at some polling that suggested that Clay County residents overwhelmingly support the idea of a half-cent sales tax for the Royals. And by the way, it's in both political parties. Republicans in Clay County would be accepting of a half-cent sales tax to bring the Royals up to the Northland. And actually, Democrats were lower than Republicans in Clay County in approving the idea of a half-cent sales tax to bring the Major League Baseball team up to the Northland, which I was surprised by. But as they said to me, well, Republicans are more likely to be baseball fans than Democrats. And I thought, yeah, you're right. That makes sense. So there was a Northland pride that comes along with it that would suggest they could get a vote to easily pass up there in the Northland. Now, if you're in the Northland and you're texting in or you're, wanting to call in and saying, no way would I vote for it. I mean, I'm not saying you should. I'm just telling you they've got pretty darn good polling from very reputable polling outfits suggesting that this vote would pass. Now, the question is when? Well, if they want to get something on a ballot in November, they've got to have that all figured out by the end of August. So we may be up against a timeline here in the next 30 days where the team has to say, we'd like to go to North Kansas City. We'd like to be on the ballot coming up in November. And they have to get all that done by the end of next month. They don't have a choice. Now, if you're on the Kansas side of the state line, this is once again where Monday becomes a fairly big deal, because Monday is when the Kansas group of legislators meet to extend the Star Bond offer. They're probably going to do it because, well, why not? They've done 12 months so far. They've got nothing to lose. But I would love for them to put the screws on this whole deal here and just say, you know what, on second thought, just tell us in the next week what you want. I mean, maybe we'll retroactively do this thing at our next meeting, but we'll do a gentleman's handshake here and say, guys, come on, tell us what's going on. It's time to poop or get off the pot here. It's long overdue. And while everybody on both sides of state line believes that they've got the leg up, they're going to land one or both of these two teams. Having not talked to some of these people before, I came away impressed with their confidence right now on the hand that they are holding to try to get the Royals up to North Kansas City. 913-408-7957. That is our studio line and our text line on KCMO. Mayor Lucas will be here at 7:30. Of course, it is the day before Independence Day. Glad you're with us on KCMO. And I'll add this as well. I will be here for 7 hours today on the air. Not like here in the building, like on the air for 7 hours today. I'll be filling in for Guy Benson from 2 to 5 this afternoon. So look forward to hopefully having you on then. And you know what? You get an extra dose of us. Mark and John will not be joining me for that part, but I'll be here 2 to 5 on the grind, filling in for Guy Benson on 95.7 FM.